luck, Nicole.
Well, good morning. Marc forgot to print out the show notes, so it's just me today. No. Yeah, we're just going to hang out here for a second. I appreciate you, Marc. Oh, goodness. Let's see. Who do we have in the chat room? Is it Free Brisket Friday, Tim? Sure. Go get some brisket. We got Michael in the chat from Wisconsin. Bobby C's in the chat from...
Bobby C!
Bobby C!
Sorry.
Yeah, I did. You kind of did a Wayne's World on me.
Did you get nervous? Is she red?
Got a little,
Are you
I
red?
got a little red. I wasn't. You threw me for a loop.
Oh boy, we are not centered at all.
No, we're not centered at all.
Oh, you want to move over, or you?
Do I?
Swing those sweet little legs over that side.
There we go.
Now we're a little more centered. Oh man, we're a little discombobulated.
Yeah, Les is like, show us some dovetail demos. Rob's not here.
Okay.
So, there we go.
Jeez.
Oh, hey Ken, good to see you.
Well, here's the problem. We just did a live demo, last night, and that was the last thing we did last night. It was pretty late, and then we came back first thing this morning and had to kind of like rejig everything to be ready for the live show this morning.
And I do like the new setup.
What new setup?
What we did last night with like the camera. Yeah, it turned out nice.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sorry for the rocky start.
We're only 2 minutes late.
Yeah, so speaking of last night, we had a fun live demo. In fact, the first demo that we are doing for Guild Plus.
Yeah.
So if you don't remember, we talked about Guild Plus last week.
You might not have been here.
You may not have been here.
In fact, we have quite a few people that are catching the show. Kizzy.
Yeah, so you
finally got the show. Welcome,
look
Kizzy.
at you. Look at you, Kizzy. So you can check the whole thing out at Guild, for Guild Plus at thewoodwhispererguild.com/plus. But with the limited time I had, I actually put together a little tiny clip showing you what we did last night. It's only like a minute long, but I think it'll give you an idea of
How long was the demo? Was like over
it was over an hour.
Yeah.
So check this out real quick.
We had a lot of fun.
But she wanted one specifically made of walnut. Nicole gets what she wants. Here is a little lantern made of walnut. That's 2 grooves. Of course, if you're doing this at home, you're going to do this on your rear piece as well. I just place this wherever I think it should go. I'm really just eyeballing it. This poor guy's got a tooth issue, little dental problem. But why not use a hand plane if you can? Because that is fun stuff. I got the baby squares. Will that one work? I need a pencil, Nicole. Yes. You know why you never drill right in the center of a log?
I'm afraid to ask why.
The log will get piffed off.
Oh God! Did you break it?
No.
Oh, I thought you broke it. Okay, that's enough. That's enough.
And this guy should go in right on top, like that.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
I'm supposed to
All right, so if you guys have never had the pleasure of building a project with someone going, "Don't break it! Don't break it!" I highly recommend it. And it really adds a little spice to the experience.
I'm your camera woman. Hey, Les wants to know, can Guild Plus members that missed the demo watch it after the fact?
Yep,
of course.
They're archived. And in fact, the archived version gets a little bit of an edit, not a lot. We want to keep the live feel to it. But if there's dead air or camera movement, audio problems, which this one had a couple little audio problems, we clean all that stuff up and it's always in the archive for you to watch.
Yeah.
Do you want to see these things real quick?
Yeah,
Switch the camera and I'll show it to you. These little lanterns are so cute. This was kind of Nicole's brainchild. She asked me if we could make these for, I don't know, just either the show or whatever.
Yeah, decoration around, Ava complained to me that I don't have a lot of Halloween decorations.
Ava is full of crap, Nicole. We look like a Halloween version of a Cracker Barrel inside our house. I don't want to hear anything about not enough decorations. My goodness. Anyway, we made them out of walnut because that's what she requested. You can make them out of anything. It's 1/2-inch material. I think what really makes the difference with these is if you take the time to put some kind of a translucent film. In our case, we just use parchment paper. Like as simple as it can get, easy to replace if it breaks. And that really adds a nice touch. When you see people make these, most times they use 3/4-inch material, which makes it, I mean, it's fine. It just looks a little more clunky. And you wind up with holes here where you can actually see the candle. I don't think it looks nearly as cool as when you actually have something translucent.
And
there.
the candles, it doesn't work through the...
Through the wood?
Oh, does it not work?
You're also far away.
Yeah, I am far away. Nope, it's still not.
Nope, okay.
Maybe through the parchment paper.
It needs line of sight to work?
I guess.
There you go.
Oh, there it worked.
Yep,
Yeah.
just point it at its face, you're fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you like the way these look and you want to make a few yourself, we can help you with that in the Guild Plus subscription.
Yeah, we created Canva templates for...
You can switch back.
I think I have like, I don't know, 7 different faces.
Yeah.
So we have Canva templates, which you can, so if you decide you want these wider or bigger, you can play around with the placement of the eyes, nose, and mouth. As well as I created SVG files. So if you have a CNC that you want to play with this little design, you can. So
yeah, it was fun. Fun little build. Cute little things to put out on the porch, and you know, you could use them again next year, assuming they don't explode.
Well, it should be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
It should be fine.
You wanted to announce that we will have no show next week?
Yeah, we're going to be at Woodworking in America next week.
Yeah, going to be hard to do this show there.
We're going to be on the road Thursday night. Mm-hmm. We're going to be there Friday. Do you know what time your demo is?
Don't know, don't care. I'll find out when I get there.
Okay. But we're also going to have a table in the vendor area, which we do have a question later about all the vendors that are going to be at WIA.
Well, and here's a cool thing. The seminar that I'm going to be doing at Woodworking in America, if you can't make it, I'm going to be doing that same seminar in a future Guild Plus demo. It's,
and if you're not familiar, you don't have to own any courses in the Guild to be a Guild Plus member. In fact, one of the reasons why we created Guild Plus is because we got a lot of feedback from people that said, I just want to watch some of the videos. So Guild Plus allows us to stream classic Marc courses. So this
Marc courses.
Marc courses.
You want to make a Marc?
So this month, so if you join Guild Plus, you can watch the miter station course build.
Download the plans.
All month.
All month long.
For as low as $24.
Yes.
So there you go.
So do you have anything else before we get to questions? Because I'm ready to roll. I am locked and loaded. And I want to get some of these things done.
No,
Okay.
I will say housekeeping. If you're asking questions, I'm going to be favoriting them and coming back to your questions. So I am in the chat room, and so feel free.
We always have questions ahead of time here taken from our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/woodwhisper, as well as our YouTube members. And then Nicole is grabbing questions live. So if you have a question, you don't necessarily have to be a member to get the question there. Of course, there's also the super chats. If you're on YouTube, you could use the super chat, and that will throw your question right to the top of the list if you have something urgent that you want to get across.
Jeffrey, who's in Lake St. Louis, wants to know if we've gone to DaBears. Jeffrey, we walk to DaBears.
DaBears is in the backyard.
The backyard. So yes, we've been to DaBears. They have a great cheeseburger.
They are just great bar food.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, you feel real bad afterwards, but it's good food.
We're a fan of DaBears.
Okay, excuse me. All right, Chris Robertson says, I think I found a solution to the 4x8 table situation. Oh, you remember this from last week? My voice is going to be rough because I did a whole thing last night. 4x8 table where he wanted to have it adjustable in height, but also still be mobile. He says he's going to be looking at mobile scaffolding. He said scaffolding has adjustable leveling wheels with Acme threads up to 24 inches tall, and the threaded rod is 1 3/8 thick with double locking casters. They have 9-inch wing nuts on top, and to adjust the height, it can be completely removed if needed. Now, I just need to figure out a good way to attach them. Looking at you, scaffolding. So there you go. Chris came up with his own better solution than buying stuff, which is what I recommended he did or do.
Scaffolding.
Okay, got one here from Tom Hackbarth. says, what do you do with sawdust planer stuff and the stuff that's too small to save from your projects? I know you're perfect and nothing gets wasted. Sure. Maybe someday I'll be that good. I have a small smokeless fire pit for offcuts, but sawdust? Also, forgive me, but I use MDF, so not the best stuff to use in the garden. Yeah, also not the best stuff to put in the fire pit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you a picture here. See that sawdust picture right there?
I do see that.
It's not poop. It's a pile of sawdust in my backyard here at the shop. We have a lot of like wooded area, and that is just a great way to suffocate some of the poison ivy. And I, once in a while go out there with a rake and thin it out a little bit, spread it out a little bit.
Do you think any of the woodland creatures like use it for
bedding
or anything like that?
Maybe, I don't know, but that's one of the uses or one of the places it ends up. A lot of times if you don't have someone who could utilize the sawdust for something, you're gonna bag it and put it in the trash.
When we lived in Denver, we had a lady who did she did pottery.
Yeah.
And she did a method where she would bury the pottery,
like smolder it,
and then put the sawdust around it, and that was how she kiln-dried the.
Well, no,
pot.
it wasn't kiln drying. It was something like an artistic treatment to it, and I think pottery people know what that is.
I'm not a pottery person.
Yeah, the other thing is with offcuts. I do a lot of barbecue and smoking, and I also have a little smokeless fire pit. It's just great kindling.
Kindling.
Most other people call it kindling, but
Kindling.
It's kindling if you're from here. And the stuff we use in the shop is great for that, again, not the MDF. So I typically will take just a 5-gallon bucket and I cut all of my parts and pieces so they're small enough to fit into whatever I'm going to burn them in. I also use them not really as smoking wood, but I use them to help start the fire in my smoker when I'm doing a long smoking cook. It's just really good dry material for that. So that's what I do.
So David said litter box. I don't think I've ever seen Oreo out there doing.
Well, do you really watch him all day?
No, not really.
He may be out there pooping and peeing.
Yeah, maybe.
Constantly, but I mean, you see a picture. I don't see any little turds.
No.
So.
or like.
No turds in the snow.
When he scratches it, it looks pretty.
Listen, the world
undisturbed.
Is Oreo's litter box. He goes where he wants to go.
I bet you he's gone to DaBears.
He goes to poop at DaBears.
Poop at DaBears.
Okay, Steve Goodlow says, what kind of grease do you use to lube up machines in your shop? Also, how often do you do maintenance on your machines? This is a good way to answer this is I had to go and look at what I use because that should tell you how infrequently I do this. It's especially if you're a hobby shop. Your maintenance schedule is minimal at best. Most of the things that we buy, even as hobbyists, tend to be so much more like intended for a lot more abuse than we subject them to. As long as you don't feel something like at the table saw, let's say, you're raising and lowering the blade. Over time, you might feel it fighting you a little bit more, or you may not be able to get to the full extent because you've got like sawdust packed in there. Probably a good time to clean and lube those things. So I don't really do much maintenance on these things at all, especially, I'll just be honest, I don't do a lot of preventative maintenance. I basically maintain as I see the need. So I'm more responsive and reactive than proactive with this stuff. But I can show you the stuff that I use over here. Nicole, you have links to this on Amazon.
Oh, I do.
So one of the things that I use, you want to switch cameras?
Oh yeah, I'll switch cameras.
I'm just going to stand over here and talk.
Sure, go ahead.
How about this? One of them is white lithium grease. This is a spray version, and this is quite handy because I don't have the little, the little hose hooch that goes on there, but that's really handy for getting into places where you don't have good access. So you want to be able to get a little bit of this grease on there and not get it all over the place. This works pretty well. We're going to put a link to, not this exact brand, I don't believe. I think WD-40, the brand WD-40 has a white lithium grease that we're going to recommend. There's also dry lube, and I'm coming back over here.
Okay.
There's also dry lube. We'll also link to the WD-40 brand version of dry lube. I actually don't use much in the way of true grease. And the reason is because in a wood shop, we make a lot of dust. And if you have active, gooey grease on your gears and on your threads, it tends to collect the dust, and then you end up with a lot of buildup, and it's a really nasty mess to clean up later during the times when you actually do the maintenance. So even though I find grease works better in terms of the action of the gears and the turn wheels. Grease always works better. Dry lube doesn't attract dust. And if dust hits the threads when you have dry lube on it, it just kind of falls off. Or if you blow it off with compressed air or clean it off with a vacuum, it's much easier to maintain. So that's why I don't really use a whole lot of the grease. I tend to focus on dry lubes on most of my moving parts. And again, you just feel maybe a little bit more resistance, but I think it's worth it to not have to clean up a gooey, sawdust, greasy mess later on in the future.
I got a nice super chat from Jake Baker. Thanks, Jake. You bought our Dunkins today.
Oh, hey, thanks, Jake. So much appreciated.
I really appreciate that.
Should we go to Rafael's question, or you got another live one?
I got some more live ones. We got Jamie McGill. I'm building a Roubo bench with cherry top based on your suggestions. And oh, that wasn't a question. That was just a statement.
No, I love to hear it.
Good job, Jamie.
I have a bunch of people, like recently someone was asking questions about this and they were worried about whether cherry, it was probably on Instagram.
I think it was,
So it was somebody else's post on Instagram.
I thought I saw one with walnut, maybe.
No, I think it was, excuse me, a Coffee Custom Builds post. They were talking about cherry, and a lot of people really worried about it. It's like, cherry's totally fine. And actually right now, cherry, comparatively to other woods, is pretty inexpensive and makes a great workbench. If you don't want a really bright colored workbench, but you don't want to go super dark, cherry fits the bill really nicely. Question from Rafael. He says, what's the best and also precise way to prepare and do a Festool domino joint between 2 3/4-inch walnut veneered plywood panels when one butts into the middle of the second? I'm working on a bookcase for one of my daughters using the DF500 that I purchased from your Amazon store. You probably have a video showing this somewhere. Can you point me in that direction? As always, thanks. And we sure do. This is kind of an oldie but goodie, and there actually might be more recent ones that I just couldn't remember off the top of my head. In the past, I made a tool cabinet, and it was like a floor standing tool cabinet just to hold all of the portable power tools and all that good stuff. But it was exactly what he's talking about. It's a shelf that needs to go in the middle of a vertical piece. How do you get the dominoes in there, into that surface, and the strategy that I use for that, it's on the Wood Whisperer site, also on YouTube. So it's called a tool storage cabinet. You can check that out.
What about the domino step stool? Is that? That was
maybe
a long time ago.
But gosh, do you really want to go back and look at those videos?
Those are old.
I mean, at least this one was in Arizona, so it's a little like.
Is it this one right here?
The Dream Shop in Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Back when we used to put the number in the title.
217.
It is episode number 217. The tool cabinet.
The tool cabinet storage.
Tool storage cabinet.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay.
All right.
Next one we have is from Bryan. We're going to switch cameras for this one. Anyone know of a good writing utensil or material that will work similar to a grease pencil that I can use to transfer a specific location of something onto a workpiece? My wife already threatened me that if I use her lipstick again, well, you know, you got to look pretty too, Bryan. You do what you got to do. I'm making a fixture panel for some plumbing in my camper, and I need to cut 2 very precise holes for fixtures. I don't know for sure that this is totally the answer to your question, but this is what I would be inclined to use. A Pica Visor pencil. Here's the good thing, it's red, and it also operates a whole lot like lipstick, so you should be familiar. And you might have to fight your wife and make sure she doesn't take this.
No, I won't take
and use this.
That's okay. We don't really do lipstick.
So this is, it's kind of like a soft crayon, and I think this would work really well. I actually did some stuff earlier, just messing with, you know, various little things to see if it would transfer well, and it does. So, Nicole, you do have a link on Amazon for this, the Pica Visor pencil.
I can't find.
Oh, you don't have the show notes?
No. So I've been hand typing everything, so I'll just hand type it.
You can go right into my Gmail and get into the drive. Anyway, I think this is a really good thing. I use this for, you know, marking up rough boards if I'm doing some rough layout, and it's great because you could replace that little insert. And something about this just reminds me of Dougie. I don't know what, but anyway, just me. Go to shared with me.
Yeah, I know.
I could show you how to get there.
I'll get there.
Okay.
Got too much going on.
Your job is difficult. Look, not everybody can do what you do.
No, not everyone can.
Okay, Nate Paulson has a question. Anyone have a list of exhibitors for woodworking in America? And I believe
I sent it.
That's it.
This is from Woodworking in America. Now, here's the thing. I'm looking at this list and we're not on it. So while we're not a vendor,
WTF?
we will be in the vendor area.
I want our name in there. How will people know? Anyway.
We're telling them.
We're telling them now.
And then if they don't watch the show, then they'll go and they go, hey, there's Marc and Nicole.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the list of exhibitors. Apparently, the current list so far: Grizzly, JPW with the Jet line of tools, Lee Valley Tools, Old Masters. That's a Finnish company, isn't it? They make finishes.
Old Masters?
Yeah. Matter Hackers, Craig Tool Company, Shaper Tool.
Matter Hackers is going to be there. They're a 3D printing.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Nice. Hartville Hardware, the Northwest Woodworking Studio. That's Gary Rogalski's deal.
Gary Rogalski's going to be there. You think?
Yeah, he's doing a seminar.
Nice.
Carbon Method, Franklin International, which is Type Bond, and it says sponsors which have no physical footprint are Air Handling Systems and Sutherland Wells. And don't forget, the Wood Whisperer will also have a booth. If you want to go see my kids acting up and asking when we go home.
You know, I think they're going to be fine.
You think?
I think so.
I'm glad you're optimistic about it. As long as we bring a switch for each one of them, I think we'll be okay. Whew, it's going to be something else.
Craig Vaughn in the chat says, I have a huge pile of sawdust. The black rat snakes like to lay their eggs in it.
Okay, that's not a bad thing. Let's support the black rat snakes.
Yeah.
They keep some of the other pests at bay.
Jack Dalby wants to know if we've heard anything about Annabelle Trades or other East Coast woodworkers are doing after Hurricane Helene.
I honestly haven't been paying much attention because I'm just a terrible friend.
No, well, I haven't heard anything, and I've been poking around.
I haven't seen any GoFundMe campaigns yet.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Chris Hayes, I had thought that you were selling wood out of your shop at some point. Is that still a thing? It would be worth a trip from Kansas City.
We still have some material here. We did buy enough to sell, and we had a couple of sales. They went okay, but I'm not sure that that's how we want to do things. I mean, what we realized was unless we are kind of open to the public at all times, it's really hard to sell lumber because people don't buy just because you're selling it on a weekend. And that's the way I was going to structure it. Like we'd have an open house weekend. People could buy wood if they want to. But people don't buy unless they actually need the material. Very few people will buy ahead of time. I do, but I tend to budget for that and I have the space for it. Most people buy when the project dictates it. So being like, hey everybody, come and buy wood this weekend. And they're like, well, I don't actually need any wood right now. It didn't really sell the way I wanted it to. And I think we were just kind of doing it the wrong way.
Well, and I think too, you're like, I don't want to get rid of that wood. I want that wood.
Well, that's the other thing. I also really like having a good stash that I could pick through and get the good stuff. And, that's a nice privilege to have that. Oh, speaking of wood, Craig just asked a question.
Oh, yeah, that's
I still
Craig.
owe you an email. Once we can get our budget together and let you know what we're going to be able to buy, I'll get back to you. So we did. But if you are in the area, you are more than welcome to stop by. Now, did you say Kansas City?
He's in Kansas City. Yeah.
I don't know that you're going to want to make the trip all the way from Kansas City just to come and say hi, but we do allow visitors to the shop if you want to come out.
In fact, we have a
for
visitor
a tour.
coming by at noon today.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
So, that's definitely something you can do. And if you see a board that you like in the wood room, you're more than welcome to purchase it. It won't have a price tag on it, but we'll figure something out.
Some of them do still.
Yeah, but some of them say $90. And then it's a piece this big because I already used it and that's the piece that had the price on it. So it gets very confusing back there. But I think, to really make a go of selling lumber, you really, that has to be something you're committed to.
There are a lot of wood vendors around here.
Yeah, and I don't need to be one of them.
Nah.
It was neat. I think if the budget is there, we might do a big buy at some point and do the same thing. Have a weekend and we sell what we sell. And then what we don't sell, I just keep for myself. Nothing wrong with that.
Ed in the chat has a question.
Ed!
I have a Bosch job site table saw and I'm trying to buy a new blade. In the manual, it recommends to use a 10-inch saw blade, but I keep finding 250 millimeter.
Okay. So, a little bit confused. So most table saws are going to take a 10-inch blade. So buy a 10-inch blade. I don't know if you need to even worry about the metric equivalence of this. As long as it says it takes a 10-inch blade, go get a 10-inch blade. That's a industry standard for table saws, unless you're getting into super industrial stuff. Just go get a 10-inch blade. Am I missing something with that?
I'm not sure.
You might just get a thin kerf version for that kind of saw.
Well, he asked the same question again, maybe a little bit more clarification.
Okay.
The manual keeps saying 255 millimeters, but I found a 250.
Yeah, you're going to have to put it in the saw. Most of them should have enough clearance that if the blade is just a little bit bigger, as long as it's not connecting with anything, colliding with anything, it'll probably be fine. Take the stock blade that came with the saw, I assume it came with one, and put it in there and look and see, is there something that's going to interfere with that blade or collide with the blade if you use that with the saw? If not, you're going to be fine. I can't see why Bosch would make a saw that wouldn't take just
Bosch
about every standard 10-inch table saw that's on the market. I wouldn't fuss too much over what's amounting to 4 millimeters.
Yeah.
And that's 4 millimeters, I think it was 4, over the diameter, which means you're really only 2 on each side, and 2 millimeters is a very small amount of material.
Hey, good night, Ness.
Oh, Ness is here, and then she's not. Bye, Ness.
Sweet dreams. Got a question here from Todd, or no, just a comment, I think. Mark Scott. Took your advice, picked up the shaker table course.
Nice.
Loving the course, super informative. Thank you.
So glad.
That's a good
Thank
course,
you,
too.
Mark. And yeah, even the what we call the classic guild courses, they're still super informative. You just have to deal with maybe not the best resolution video. I mean, technology has changed.
2009.
But we capture the details, and there's still some, especially the shaker has some really goofy stuff.
Didn't we do a skit on that?
Oh boy, did we.
We did a skit on that.
And that's one that never went on YouTube. But that was during our heavy focus on skits days. And oh boy, is there a skit in the Shaker Table series. My goodness.
We even dressed up.
We sure did. Good times, Nicole.
Steve. Thanks, Mark, for answering my question.
Sure thing, man.
Also, my bench is cherry with sapili accents.
Oh,
and
nice.
I love it.
That sounds like a beauty. I have no regrets on my cherry workbench.
Is this cherry?
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We got V backends. Mark, I've obtained about 75 board feet of 8 1/4 walnut kiln-dried.
Yeah.
Also, was said to be Missouri grade 2. I want to use this for my workbench. Any limits or concerns? On the,
with walnut? Okay, so the only concern I have with walnut is, well, there's two, and if you have it, then that's not a concern for you. That is price. Walnut is very expensive. If you are going to build furniture out of walnut, you could make a lot of high quality furniture out of that 75 board feet of 8 1/4 lumber. Putting it all into a workbench, a lot of people would see that as not really the best economical choice. But if you have it and you want it, it's yours, use it. The only other thing, practically speaking, about walnut that I think is problematic is it is a little bit too dark. I had mentioned before that the cherry is kind of a happy medium if you don't want the bright beech maple or ash. You go with something like cherry and it darkens just enough, but not too much. The only problem with a dark workbench is sometimes it's harder to see things. You don't get as much light reflecting off of it. As we get older, we need as much reflected light as possible so we can see the details when we're measuring and marking, or we drop a piece of hardware. Makes it a little bit easier to see it if you have a light background. So that is the only thing I can think of that would be a warning to you. David Marc's workbench, I believe, was made of walnut with other dark exotics in it, and he's David Marc's, so he did okay.
He did.
So
all
I'm going to
right.
say, if you like the way it looks and you want to use it, I say go for it. But there are two caveats to that other people might want to consider.
Bicky wants to know, how's Oreo, and are you finally able to admit that the shop is his now and you're just visiting?
Oh, as soon as he moved in, it quickly became, I'm the visitor here.
Yeah.
I went outside, speaking of like being in his territory, he was out back. I went to take that picture of the sawdust in the back, and I'm just walking back there, and he acts so different outside than he does inside. I just went, hey buddy, pet him on the back, and as I walked away, he went whap whap on the back of my leg.
I pulled up this
It's like,
morning.
you little turd.
So we have a trailer that he likes to hang out under, and I pulled up, and he's just like laying there, and then he starts rolling around
Yeah.
like,
Happy
"Hello."
boy. Happy boy.
Yeah, that cat is.
He's something
funny.
else.
Dennis wants to know if you have a favorite extension cord. It doesn't get stiff when it's cold.
No. I mean, here's the thing. I don't let my shop get too cold, so I wouldn't even be able to tell you if if it does. These
Our
are words
kids
I'm having.
absolutely loves the retractable one.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that one even for sale anymore? The orange orb
They have them on
thing.
Amazon, but I don't think it's that brand.
I can't remember what the
anymore.
brand was called.
Yeah, Roubo Reel.
No, Roubo Reel is what it was called. Yeah, I don't have a great recommendation on this because I can't, the aspect you're talking about of whether it gets a little bit stiff in the cold. I don't work outside, so I don't subject my extension cords to cold temps. I don't really know. And even then, I just kind of like extension cords are just like pencils in the shop. It's not something I think a whole lot about.
Somebody, Liquid Rock Aquatics, says typically the high voltage cords with heavy rubber, not plastic, insulation do better in the cold in his experience.
Yeah.
But they are still stiff first thing in the morning.
Yeah, all of us are. I honestly would say someone who does like on-site work or a contractor would have a whole lot more knowledge on extension cords than I do. It's just a necessary evil in my shop.
Les, his comment on the blade.
Yeah.
4 millimeter smaller blade won't hurt anything. It just reduce your max cut height.
There you
Just
go.
make sure it's the correct arbor size.
Yep, absolutely.
So.
But I still find it real hard to believe that Bosch would make a saw that wouldn't take 99% of the 10-inch blades out there.
You would think. I mean, Bosch is.
It would be a silly move on their part.
Jesus, General Finishes High Performance said it's 21 days for a full cure. Wondering if it's truly takes that long. Debating using this or Nature OneCoat for my desk finish. Thoughts on choosing between the two?
Okay, you're looking at two really different finishes there. I see no reason not to believe a company. If they say it takes 21 days, I would suspect it's going to take 21 days. Typically, these things are usable within a certain period of time, but don't get up to their full durability until that full time, that they give you. Now, if they were going to lie, it doesn't make any sense why they would do that, right? Like they would lie and tell you it's shorter. If they give you a number, that might be a CYA thing. They're covering their butts. Maybe it'll be fine within a week. Maybe it's, 12 days. I don't know.
Yeah.
But give it some time before you really subject it to a lot of abuse. So General Finishes High Performance, I could say that, is definitely going to be more durable than your Natura OneCoat. The Natura OneCoat is a hard wax oil. It's going to look very different as well. The oil will definitely look a little bit more of like a close to the wood, sort of natural looking finish where you are interacting more with the wood grain when you touch the surface. It's not going to be as protective, and it's going to look like an oil. It's going to be a little bit more ambering. It's going to add a little bit of yellow and might even yellow a little bit more over time. High Performance is a protective layer, and it is water-based. So it is going to kind of give you a more dead look to the surface, whereas the oil kind of brings a little bit of life to it. It makes it, that's the ambering and the shine that you get out of that. High Performance is a little bit different, like a classic water-based finish, where it is going to just, how do you just, you know what I'm talking about when I talk about a water-based finish?
I wasn't
kind of looking,
listening.
Okay, well, I'm used to that. But it looks a little bit dead to me, and that's maybe just the wrong word. It's a little less full of life. I don't know why alive and dead is the only analogy I can come up with here. But it is going to provide more protection for you, so that's something to keep in mind. I don't know how else to describe it, but two very different finishes that you're looking at, not just because it's water and oil, but because their protective natures are very different. I think, honestly, for a desk, two choices. One, put the finish that's going to provide more protection because it's going to get a little bit beat up. You might spill a drink, you might be running a mouse over it. Go with the one with more protection. That's one school of thought. Second school of thought is what I apply to my workbench and to things like cutting boards. Go with a finish that's easy to repair because it's going to get damaged and you could repair it and make it look better in the future. That's on the side of Natura OneCoat. So you have to decide which school of thought you want to adopt and pick your finish based on that.
There you go. We got someone in the chat that recommended a cord.
Oh, okay.
And I just lost it.
Polar Solar.
Polar Solar Heavy Duty.
Oh, look at that. So
Yeah.
very clearly by the name, you would assume it is intended
Yeah.
for that purpose.
Here we go. There we go. Give them credit.
Southwire Polar Solar. That's easy to say.
Helder.
So thank you, Helder.
So I added this. I found it on Amazon. Of course, Amazon has
Has everything.
everything. So if you go to amazon.com/shop/The Wood Whisperer, you'll see our store. And I have a TWW Live category. By the way, if you're not following us on Instagram, at the Wood, it's not the Wood, it's just Wood Whisperer. Every once in a while when Amazon does these Prime Days, they give us gift cards to give away. So on October 9th,
$500
Yeah.
gift cards, right?
yeah,
Are they, or is
yeah,
it $250?
Two $500 gift cards again.
Yeah.
So this is,
It's
I
pretty
think,
cool.
our third time giving away gift cards.
And it's the real deal. Like, we're
yeah.
not blowing smoke. You have a
Nope.
really good chance of winning. So
Yeah.
keep an eye out for that whenever she decides to do this thing.
I'm supposed to post on October 8th. So October 8th and 9th is, I guess, their Prime Days that they're having, like early Prime Days sales.
Yeah.
So check Marc's Instagram on October 8th.
Yeah.
Because that's when I'll post. And basically, you gotta follow a couple accounts and comment. I think that's it.
Good chance of winning, too.
Yeah.
I love it.
Usually it's like a 1 in 500 chance of winning. Well, two chances to win.
What are they talking about with the walnut shaving? What did we miss?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Is there a walnut shaving in view somewhere?
Maybe. So, let's see. Apopina is in the chat. I know this is more of a Shannon question.
What are you doing? Go ahead.
But is there any reason to get a super long joiner plane versus a shorter one? I have a smaller one, but is there a reason to get a big one?
No.
What's the difference?
The length? I think you know the answer to this question. And I'm going to give you a much shorter answer than Shannon would give you. To my knowledge, there are only 2 jointer planes. You know, if we're talking about classic Stanley sizing, your 7 and your number 8. The number 7 is a little shorter, number 8 is a little longer. When I had a number 7 back in the day, I hardly ever used it. I use a jack plane nowadays, but I also don't really do a lot of like edge truing that I would need a number 7 or you know, flattening large surfaces where you need that larger body. For most people, I would imagine a number 7, if you're doing this kind of work, if you need it at all, a number 7 is long enough. The number 8 is just a little bit longer. And the longer it is, the more you can flatten larger surfaces, right? Kind of like the, if we look at a power jointer, the longer the beds, the longer the piece can be because you have more reference surface. Very similar concept. Do I think you need a number 8? I don't know exactly the kind of work that you do, but chances are for most people, a number 7 is just fine.
So many people are saying, I don't do Instagram. I don't make the rules. Amazon makes the rules.
Yeah.
So that's creative.
You don't do Instagram,
Yeah.
you don't win $500.
I'm sorry.
But honestly, that's
Yeah.
our primary social media outlet where we're, you know, and that's also what Amazon wants.
That's what Amazon
That's the
wants.
reason they're doing it with us,
Yeah.
is to be able to give it away and have people see it.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, if you don't use that platform, there's not a whole lot we can do about it.
Sorry. So you asked about everybody talking about the walnut curl.
Yeah.
Jack told me.
What was it?
You have a smoothing plane, has a shaving stuck in it.
Oh, where is it?
I don't know.
Oh, it's up there. Oh yeah, I just left it hanging there.
yeah, there it
It's kind of
is.
like the plainer
what he was
version of
using
like
last night.
it's the plainer version of toilet paper on your foot.
Yeah. Oh,
I quickly cleaned up the workbench and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna put it up there. Thank you for clarifying, because I was wondering what the heck you guys were. I'm like, is it on my hair?
Hey, I just wanted to say thank you to Jonathan. He just became a member.
Oh, thanks,
On
Jonathan.
YouTube, so
Well, very cool. So, hey, every week we're going to put up a call for questions.
around Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, I think my mom puts them up on Wednesday. Ask any question you want. I usually give answers by Friday, but we do the answers on the show a lot of times now, and I'll go back and put a little link there if you want to catch that part of the show where I answered your question.
And Joe is back. It's
Joe
been
Lapalito.
peak spags this week.
Too much, man.
It really has been.
I mean, we had the Master Hangout on Monday.
Yeah, that's right.
Then we did the live demo last night, and now we're doing Friday Live. As you could tell, it's impacting my voice.
Spencer has a question. Setting up my table saw,
Yes.
should I set the back side of the fence, the smallest of the thousands, away from the blade?
Yeah.
I was told to do that, but I was told to just dial it in as close as possible to equal.
I think I favor going a little bit away from the blade in the back. So the theory here is if you have your blade 100% perfectly parallel to your fence, as you push a piece through, there's a good chance that at the back, you might have a little bit more contact and the blade side of the teeth will be rubbing against the workpiece and you could end up with a little bit more burning that way. But if you take your fence and you angle it, and we're talking like 2/1000ths, not a lot, just a very, very tiny amount. You angle it away from the blade, you still get a nice parallel cut, but you're only really making full contact with the teeth at the front of the blade, and the back of the blade isn't making as close of a contact. Really causing a problem,
Yeah,
huh?
they're really upset about it.
This is what you call engagement bait,
Yeah,
Nicole. And
I know.
You ruined it.
I know.
So I actually do favor doing that if you have enough control. The problem is a lot of people don't necessarily have like the whole dial indicator set up. So as they're trying to do this, they might just monkey with it too much, push it too much, and now you kind of have a situation where it's too far. So I actually think this is a very good thing to do. An interesting note, someone told me with Festool's track saw, one of the reasons it gives such a clean cut, when you calibrate it, a lot of people make the blade perfectly parallel to the track, and then what it comes from the factory is a little bit different, where they actually are kicking it out slightly at the back, and it's one of the reasons why you don't get as much burning with that particular track saw. So it's kind of the same theory. In the back, those teeth aren't cutting anyway, you're cutting at the beginning. So why have the teeth making contact at the back if they're not really part of the cutting action? So yeah, I'm in favor of doing this as long as you have the measuring capability to do it correctly. And then try it, and then see what you think with the results.
Try it.
Just try it.
You like it.
You'll like it.
Kizzy says, I was watching videos from 16, 17 years ago. Can you tell me how the wifey is aging backwards?
I'd like to know. I would like to extract some of that energy from her. And I think I'm aging enough for the both of us.
I have a little bit of gray.
You got a little bit of gray. She is
here.
blessed with, just the genes that help you stay young. She gets this all the time. She goes to a doctor or she'll get her hair done and they get into like how old she is. And it's always like, oh my gosh, I thought you're 35.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, no, honey, I'm much older.
I'm almost 50. All right, we got Neens in the chat. Oh, when are we getting more offcuts barbecue content?
Yeah, I don't know. I really, it's just a time thing. I have really, especially with Guild Plus, with the morning show, I've doubled down on doing a lot more social and community-based things with the Wood Whisperer, which means any of my spare time, if I'm cooking, like I made 2 pork butts, I made ribs recently, I made just a whole bunch of things I've been cooking. But the last thing I want to do is pull out a camera when I'm doing that, because then I got to edit it.
Here's
and
the
it's a whole
thing.
thing.
Sometimes it's okay to let a hobby be a hobby.
No, it totally is. It totally is. But we also established a bit of an expectation, and people enjoy watching the barbecue content.
Yeah.
And I like making it for them when I can.
Yeah.
So to be honest, I just don't have the time to do it right now.
The bandwidth.
I don't have enough bandwidth, as they say in the industry.
Mark T. I would love your opinion on finishing, in particular, where or when you would use a hard wax oil or water-based finish, and why. Do you have a video on this?
No.
No. I have recently gone down the rabbit hole of finishes, LOL. Oh, look at those beautiful Adirondack chairs that he has as his
Look at those. Very nice.
his icon.
I kind of talked about this a little bit with the guy who was asking about the desk, and he was looking at water-based versus hard wax oils. I'm not going to get into that too much right now because I don't want to repeat myself. But generally speaking, each finish supplies a very different level of protection and a very different kind of appearance. And you have to know which one of those you want. Do you want the film, or do you want something that's a little more close to the wood? Do you want something that's super protective, or do you want something that might require a little bit of repair? Do you want something that's difficult to repair, or do you want something that's going to be very easy to repair when the damage occurs? These are all questions you can kind of answer. They're sort of black and white issues, and that can kind of push you into one or the other. A lot of people just fall into hard wax oils mainly because they're easy to apply. And that is one of the traits that I always tell people to, let that be your guide, at least initially. Which one can you apply successfully? Because here's the thing, most wood that we use is durable enough as it is. Like the wood itself is doing the lion's share of the work. This is why we have hardwood floors. They are, most good quality hardwoods are so durable that we walk on them daily. So in terms of the finish, what does the finish need to do? It needs to prevent staining. It needs to resist liquid absorption, right? And it needs to help keep the ambient environment from causing too rapid of a change to the wood itself. So the finish, I think sometimes we overdo it with finishes because we put a layer on there that now becomes the thing we're interacting with. So this is why I kind of gravitated toward hard wax oils a lot in recent years, is because I really like letting the wood be wood. And all I need the finish to do is to stop from, stains from absorbing and liquids from absorbing if I don't get to a spill right away. The wood itself is durable, and the wood itself is doing the lion's share of the heavy lifting when it comes to protection. So that's my encouragement, to not worry about it too much, but then think about what can you apply with success.
Marc said that they are Veritas
Kishipi chairs.
Kishipi chairs. What's that? Oh, this.
Oh, the chairs that he made.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah.
I've never heard of any of that, but they are beautiful.
We got a question here from Radioactive Banana. I love that name. What's the best finish for an outdoor wood dining table?
I don't know. There is a video I made a couple years ago called Outdoor Finishes Real World Results. Mm-hmm. That is a sort of retrospective review of a bunch of things that I've
20 years in the making.
Yeah, a lot of things that I've made in the past, the finishes I've applied to them, how they've held up, in some cases, how I refinished them, and then how that held up. Watch it, because it's going to teach you one important lesson, is that the sun,
in the chat too.
The sun is brutal. The sun and outdoor elements will destroy any finish eventually.
Have you looked at your Adirondack chairs?
Oh God, they're in bad shape. The Adirondack chairs are in such bad shape, it's not even funny. But anything that lives outside is going to suffer. So watch that video. I make some conclusions
in there. It's like a science experiment.
But ultimately, that video is there to help you prepare for understanding what these finishes are going to do, and then hopefully arm you with information so that you can decide for yourself.
So what kind of finish should I use then? Ken.
That's the kind of question I like.
Just tell me. He just wants you to tell him. What finish?
Is that related to the outdoor?
I think so.
Tung oil.
Tung oil? No.
Start doing some research.
If you were going to
You could do tung oil on exterior.
If you were going to fix our Adirondack chairs, what would you put on them?
Shoot.
Total Boat?
No. See, the thing is, a heavy film finish is just going to flake.
You
know what I would probably do?
I just want to go out there and peel it.
I would probably do something like an
sunburn.
Australian timber oil is a brand we used on the pergola.
Oh, that did come out nice.
Penafin. These are penetrating oils that don't necessarily build a film and might require reapplication in the future. I think that's a good strategy, but you are committing to that reapplication, okay? But you're not gonna end up with a flaking, disgusting, old-looking finish, right? Yeah. If anything, if you just let it go, it's just gonna gray and start to rot.
You should take a picture of those chairs and put it up on Instagram.
I could go out there with my phone, but I don't know that the cinder block wall is gonna let the signal through.
Oh, it really does remind me of like 5 days later from a really bad sunburn and you just kind of peeling off.
Yeah, but don't forget what happened to those chairs. Not only were they left outside, but they were part of a flood.
That's true.
And started to float away in our backyard, if you remember that. So they were really subject to significant abuse.
Les said, paint. He's not wrong.
Les isn't wrong.
No, he's not.
One of the best, most durable outdoor finishes you can use is paint, because paint is full of pigments, and the pigments are blocking UV from getting to the wood fibers, and that could be one of the most effective solutions. It's not the answer we want to hear, but it is an answer.
Apo says teak oil every year.
There you go. If you're committed to the maintenance, those are great options. And ultimately, it's going to make it look better in the long run and keep it well treated. Nothing wrong with teak oil.
I'm only saying this because it made me laugh. Richard said, Nicole is sucking Marc's life force.
I think while I'm sleeping, sometimes I think
the kids are, I'm not taking your life force.
Yeah, somebody is.
I sleep downstairs most of the
Someone
time because
is.
it's so hot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You don't have to brag, Nicole.
It makes me funny. All right. Gauge.
Gauge.
I want to
What's up,
build
man?
a wall-mounted media cabinet for my living room, home theater.
Why?
How would you build a media console wall-mounted to handle lots of cable management? Any solutions?
Oh boy. The trick with anything for gear is that you need to get to the back.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what you'll find, I don't know what your house situation is, but a lot of times people will have kind of a false back to these things with access behind it. So it's in a wall that actually has a room on the other side. So you remember this in Denver? We didn't do this, the previous owner did. But in our living room, there was a sort of built-in cabinet in the wall. And in our master bedroom on the back side, it just looked like a cabinet door, but you open that and it was the back of the gear rack, which was ingenious. So if you're building this thing as kind of, he wants it on the wall, but wants to be able...
Do you remember that Guild project? It was really, it was mounted and it had a top layer and then it kind of tiered down. That was really, we thought it was a media cabinet, but it wasn't. But it looked like, remember that?
Nope. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So the only thing I could really think, if you have to go wall mounted and you can't access it from the room behind it, behind the drywall, the only thing I could think is some heavy duty hinge action. Where you would be able to put either like sauce hinges, those SOSS is the name of the brand, or a very good quality piano hinge of some kind, where you'd be able to put the gear on the rack, push it against the wall, probably have some kind of a latch on it, and then be able to, kind of thinking, like that, be able to rotate it out and get access to the back. I don't know how else you would do it without exactly what I'm describing here if you don't have access to the room behind it. That's the only thing I could think of. What do you guys think in the chat? Anybody have better ideas than that?
Well, I mean, yeah. I think if you open it up, though, you could still access it from the front.
But that doesn't solve any problems.
Okay.
You got to get to the back. You got a lot of plugs, you got a lot of speaker wire. I think the only challenge that I would have with that is you have to have enough slack in your wires to be able to open it up. And in case anything is coming from the wall behind it, you got to make sure you got enough slack back there. You're not pulling things out, but that's the best I can think of.
Alexander said, I just watched all the TWW BBQ videos.
Oh, nice.
The other day, all 4.
Yeah, there's only like 4 or 5.
Thank you.
They're pretty fun though.
Yeah,
I mean, I actually, when I watched, I just watched the one on the pork butts because I was just doing pulled pork.
Yeah.
I wanted to remind myself how I make pulled pork. It was very informative.
James Roberts in the chat says, I enjoy your material. I still
Thanks,
show
James.
my high school shop students your video on visiting the lumberyard for the
God.
first time.
How does that go over?
I don't know.
Because it was barely funny at the time.
And
now
it got me
the kids are like, oh my God, this is so cringe. Is that what they're saying? Because I'm pretty sure that's what my kids would say.
Yeah. But thank you for...
Appo's asking about iTunes.
Yeah.
So we looked at the stats and there were very, very few people listening.
Yeah.
So what we used to do was take the morning show, push out an audio file, convert it to an audio file, and then populate a feed in iTunes, and really it would just be like any other podcast. But the listenership was so small. So we're not saying we won't do it.
And now that you can do like podcasts through YouTube.
Yeah, so that's true.
Yeah.
So one thing that we do, I don't know if you use YouTube Music, but if you do use YouTube Music, these episodes are posted as a podcast on YouTube. So if you use YouTube Music, you can actually get this as a podcast. The system is pretty cool over there because they allow you to switch back and forth. So if you're listening and you go, oh, I want to see what they're talking about here, you can click and get the video and it just kind of resumes right in that same spot. And then you can kick back over to audio only.
And honestly, because a lot of this is just bandwidth and time. I want to spend my time making the show notes, and that takes me quite a while.
Yeah, we want to be really good at doing just those few things and do it the best we can before we start adding the extra stuff.
Yeah. So.
Yes. Oh, sorry, you're taking them in order. Okay.
That's okay.
Alexander
I knew
wants
that's
to know,
what you were gonna.
Yeah. So the under table saw cabinet is going to be a guild project. I don't have a date for you because we are backlogged.
Yeah, we're getting ready to do a pre-order for Caleb's.
Oh, his dry bar cube.
His dry bar cube
That thing's
will be set for pre-order very soon.
Yep. And we also have an interview with Caleb that's
Yep.
going to be another Guild Plus feature. Probably next week. I think Todd's putting the finishing touches on it, probably as we speak.
Alex just said, since the new shop tour video, I've been binging all the 10-plus-year-old TWW videos. Incredible journey. It's been
closer to 18 years.
Yeah.
But I don't know if
so
I
it's
advise
October.
going back that far.
I think we're getting ready to celebrate an anniversary because I put in my calendar.
I think it's October 10th.
I think
because I have a dentist appointment. I'm celebrating by getting a dental cleaning.
It is.
Like you do.
So October 10th is our anniversary for the Wood Whisperer.
And it'll be, what, that's the 18th?
Is it 18th?
Or is it 19th?
It was 2006, so it would be 18.
18th. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Been doing it for a while.
Yep. But you've been woodworking much longer than that.
Not much longer, maybe 4 years more than that.
Yeah.
2?
2000.
Yeah, going back to Temecula.
Yeah. Let's see. Kizzy, I watched an old video and you were curving wood using a laminating technique.
Yes.
Was that the sled?
I don't know.
Would you give some tips or do it anything different now?
I don't know if I would do anything different because I don't know which one you saw.
Yeah.
I think one change that I've made from back in the time you're probably talking about, back then I was just following the playbook I learned from David Marks. Since then, I've learned a lot more about urea formaldehyde glues. I'm not as keen on using them anymore, so I tend to use glues that are a little bit safer for me, safer for the environment. So I tend to use things like Unibond 1. I think, what is the one from Veneer Supplies? They got a PVA glue as well. All these cold press glues are ones that you can use. And I tend to use those because they're just easier, safer. I feel better about using them. When I go to, eventually sand the thing that has been laminated, I want to make sure that the sanding dust I'm creating isn't super toxic and nasty for me. So just kind of cleaning things up. That's probably the only difference that I really do is the adhesive that I use. The most recent example is actually a guild course, the bent laminated quilt rack that we did, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's one that probably represents the most recent stuff. I also have been using a little bit more.
That's going to be in Guild Plus later if you look.
Eventually.
If you look at the calendar.
I use a vacuum press now when I can. So if I have a bending form and if I can get that sucker into the vacuum press in a bag, that's such a great way to clamp that stuff down. Gosh, I feel like we did something. No, that was steam bending when we made the.
Yeah, that was steam bending.
Yeah, we made this
with
sled.
Downy.
Yeah, we put some fabric softener in there.
Softener.
It smelled great.
It did smell good.
But we were also trying to do steam bending at elevation, which is a little bit interesting. Elevation does matter when it comes to boiling point and temperature, which is kind of neat to see. Shoot, I can't remember. I thought we did a bent laminated thing on YouTube. Maybe not. I'd have to go and look at my recent projects.
We got. So Kizzy, if you want to tell me what video you're watching, maybe that'll give them.
Nope, probably not.
James said they actually enjoyed it. Gives tons of great material.
Oh, good.
So
okay, well, thanks, James.
Yeah, that's some nice feedback.
I appreciate them humoring us old people.
Yeah.
Very funny, old man.
Well, somebody said something about skibbity, the slang.
Yes.
We torture our 12-year-old, soon to be 13-year-old.
So if you have kids in that range, 9 to 16 right now, do yourself a favor and Google Brainrot translator. And I often will write my son emails while he's at school. And it's just like a Google translator. You type your sentence in and it gives it to you in what they call Brainrot. And it is fantastic for torturing your children. Highly recommend it.
Gosh, Dad.
I'll tell you what, here's the thing. If your kid's use of slang bothers you.
Yeah.
And it often does as parents. Like, we don't understand it. We know our generation had slang that probably annoyed our parents.
Oh, gotcha.
Here's the key. You want the key to stopping it from listening to it in your household? Learn it and use it. Guaranteed, it will stop so fast.
It will.
We don't hear any of this stuff in our house,
We
except for when she and I say it. So there's a little parenting tip.
Philip says, any thoughts on using a CNC for cabinet projects as a hobbyist versus using a track saw, table saw, etc.? I enjoy CAD design and 3D printing, but I haven't tried CNC yet.
Well, if you have a CNC, yes, it's worth it. If you don't have one and you're looking at investing one, as a hobbyist, I guess it depends on what you want to do with your time and your money.
Like, do you enjoy 3D printing? I feel like there is because I'm interested now that I've gotten into 3D printing and lasering. I'm very interested in CNC now.
But like, is it worth it? Well, yeah, that's how a lot of cabinet shops do it. There was a company that, in fact, some of my upper cabinets over here were made by a flat pack cabinet production company called Cabinetry. And they do everything on the CNC. It's a fantastic way to make cabinet parts and a very fast way to make them. So if that's sounds like your cup of tea, absolutely go for it. All right, we're going to wrap it up. We're
at the hour. Gage just said I don't have to do wall mounted.
Don't have to do wall mounted, but I wanted to do it to go over the top of HVAC supply. Okay, I may have a friend weld. Yeah, I think that's the thing. You need support and you need some strength. Now, if you're going to go with legs, well then you could have something that just kind of rotates, but interesting stuff.
Bobby C did a super chat. I'm looking forward to meeting you both next week in Des Moines.
Oh, sweet. That's cool. Yeah, I can't wait to meet you too.
We're going to go Bobby C.
Hey, Bobby C. Everyone's going, what are you doing? It's a morning show thing.
Yeah.
I don't think Bobby even knows why we do it.
No, it's...
Did we ever tell the story,
I don't
Bobby,
think so,
why we say that?
There was a reality show.
I had to remind Nicole.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
So we used to watch Talk Soup a lot.
Yeah.
And there was a reality show with Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown. And Whitney Houston would always do Bobby B.
No.
Oh no, that was SNL.
You're really confusing.
I'm really confusing.
Like I said, I should tell the story. There is an SNL skit with Whitney Houston, and when she would say Bobby Brown, she would call him Bobby B.
Bobby B, yeah.
And she would always say it really fast, Bobby B. And then I started going Bobby B. And that's how it started. Anyway, now you know.
Now you know.
It's a fantastic story, and I'm glad I told it.
It's an inside joke between the two of us that you're a part of now.
But it comes from SNL.
Yes, it comes from SNL. But the SNL thing came from the reality show that they both did.
Right. Yeah.
In the 2000s.
Had nothing to do with Talk Soup, though.
Yeah, that's, well, I don't know.
All right, we're good?
All right. Hey! Ooh, that's
loud
loud.
truck.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out.
That's what we get for leaving the door open.
Yeah, we left the door open.
Okay. We're good?
Yep. So we won't be here next
show next
Friday.
week.
We're going to be in Des Moines, Iowa at Woodworking America, which I think there's still tickets. So if you change your mind last minute, use that code TWWG, and I think it's 15% off.
Something like that.
Something. You get money off.
It's a good deal, though.
Yeah.
So, all right. Okay, well, thank you for hanging out with us. Remember, if you want to check out this whole new Guild Plus thing, we'd really appreciate it if you took a look at it. It's really turning into a big part of the backbone of our business. And those of you who have already jumped in, we really appreciate it because it's now just kind of coming to life as all the content and new things start to go in there. It's at the woodwhispererguild.com/plus if you want to check it out. Stifling the burp. That's my favorite thing to do. Okay, I'm good. I'm done. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.